Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about potting up your pepper seedlings, how to know when it's the right time to pot them up, what to do if you have multiple seedlings in one cell, and the proper depth that you should be planting your pepper seedlings. Also, if you stick around to the end, I'm going to be giving you a quick update on my overwintered peppers. When potting up peppers, you want to give them a little bit more aeration and nutrients than they had in the seed starting mix. So I'm taking my seed starting mix here, which is the cocoa coir and perlite. I'm going to be adding in some bark fines that will just add to the aeration. It's a ratio of maybe about 10% to the original cocoa coir and perlite. Then I'm going to be adding in about 10% of my worm castings and just mixing it in really well. The worm castings will help to feed these young seedlings in addition to the every 10 days I'm giving them liquid fertilizer. Pepper seedlings germinated about 6 weeks ago. Now they are very small still, but this is the typical way that peppers grow, especially in the early stages. And it really depends on the type of peppers you're growing. A lot of these are hot peppers, so they do grow even slower, but they have one set of true leaves, and some of them are putting on their second set of true leaves, like that one there. I filled 18 pint-sized pots with that mix. When you're filling your pots, just like you would with your seedling tray, you want to give them a couple of good taps to release any air pockets to avoid the soil collapsing around the seedling. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to get these seedlings planted. When removing your seedlings from their seed starting tray, you can either push the soil out from the bottom, or you can just use something like this, which is just like almost a garden fork, to gently lift the seedling out. Just be careful not to pull it or tug it too hard because it could tear those tender roots. And you can see that this has quite a lot of roots on it. Sowing your pepper seedling, as a general best practice, you will plant it at the same depth it was in its seed starting tray, especially if they are healthy, they're stout, they have nice thick stems, like 90% of my tray does. You'll just make a hole as big as the root ball, you'll plant your pepper, and then you'll just gently push the soil back around it. But it will be at the same depth it was in the seed starting tray. Now, the exception to this is as you're potting up, if you have a leggy seedling like I do here with these Buena Mulatas, I am going to plant it a little deeper. Now, peppers do form roots along their stem like tomatoes, just not as aggressively as tomatoes. So while tomatoes you can plant really deeply, I wouldn't recommend it with peppers, except at this stage when you are potting up, you can plant up to the cotyledon, which are those first set of leaves that emerge when the pepper seedling germinates. The other thing I'll mention here is I have two peppers sown here together. If you wanted to only save one and not the other, I would snip it, not pull it apart. I'm going to plant both of these, so I did pull it apart. Now, if you want to save both, just gently pull them apart and then you can plant both. You just want to be careful not to break or damage the roots. I cut some of those longer roots just to give it a more compact root ball. And you'll see that I am just sowing this a little bit deeper, and it will end up being at the same level as the first plant that I sowed. I ended up with 41 peppers. I didn't plan on planting that many. Probably going to only plant about 18 to 20. So I will just give the rest of these away to friends and neighbors. Continue bottom watering when the soil dries out. So you'll want to monitor this every few days. And you can resume liquid fertilizer in about a week, and you'll do that every 10 to 14 days. I want to give you a quick update on my overwintered peppers. Check out that video that I did a few weeks ago. So these two peppers here with top growth, they started putting on top growth about 6 weeks after I brought them indoors. On the third pepper, there had been absolutely no growth, and it's been under the same conditions as the other two. But this past week, I started to notice that there is some growth coming from one of the nodes on the stem. So if you are overwintering peppers and you're just unsure what to expect, If you have these little nodes along the stem, even if nothing is happening yet, you should start to see some growth coming from them over the next several weeks as the pepper wakes up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming videos.